What is up, heroes? This is Midnight Zero, and welcome to my draft analysis / little introduction of the SFL. I think it stands for Small Family League. It's an abbreviation acronym I'm not really 100% in line with. I don't really understand it entirely, but I do know what this league is. It's an experimental league before Season 3 of the TGFA, which will be known as the NPCL? I think so, NPCL. To kind of test a lot of the Gen 7 mons in the counter team format. Also, I've got to take it down a little bit. I'm sick, my voice is gone, my throat is killing me, and I'm doing this through the pain meds for the sake of getting it done, for the sake of starting off the season with some enthusiasm, and I'm going to push through it with you guys. But anyways, the counter team format. Drafting mons, you have a set of mons that you bring each week. The opponent knows which mons, the pool of mons you can choose from, you know their pool of mons, and you team build really carefully, and it's easily my favorite way of playing competitive Pokemon right now, so I love it, and I encourage you guys to check it out too. If you have any questions, of course, you can leave them in the comments below. Plenty of people will be able to answer them, including myself. Also, I have an entire season of a co-op season working with one of my friends, Max, and a previous season where it was Gen 6 OU, so be sure to give that a look. Now, getting into the draft analysis, this was done a little bit differently. Like we said, this was experimental. So first of all, there was a mega round draft, and then there were OU, and then UU, RU, NU, and then PU, and then Z Crystal, because we wanted to test to see how the Z Crystals play a role in the new format. And there are only 2 PU picks, 2 NU picks, and then whichever mega you pick will become your first draft pick in the tier that mega belongs. So that's really all there is to it. Most of the Ultra Beasts are legal, except for there's not any Pheromosa, I believe, and yeah, I think Mega DIANCIE was made allowed. Darkrai was brought down from Ubers. Landorus I was brought down from Ubers. Yeah, just like a couple experimental things to see how they all run in this new format. So with that said, let's hop into my draft. Going into the draft, I was thinking kind of bulkier offense, which is my playstyle, my comfort zone. Mons that can take hits and dish them out, and then eventually get some momentum, switch into harder hitters that could tankle, or that can not only dish out really heavy hits, but also have some tanky properties as well. And a core that I really wanted to run was Mega Metagross and TAPU FINI. So that was my goal going into the draft, especially because Mega Metagross hits a lot of the new fairies that are definitely growing in popularity and strength. And outside of that, I was actually on a plane while this draft, the first half of this draft was happening, so I entrusted Sam with a lot of my draft, and he did a good job. So I'll get into my first mon. First of all, we've got Mega Metagross. Look at those stats. This thing is a monster with ability Tough Claws. It hits so hard on the physical side. It gets great coverage too, between Stab, Meteor Mash, and Zen Headbutt with Earthquake, Hammer Arm, Thunder Punch, Ice Punch. He's got a bunch of different types of moves. It gets access to some setup moves and Home Claws and Rock Polish / Agility. So it can become a setup sweeper. It's also got some solid bulk, so it tanks hits really well too, in addition to hitting a really solid speed tier. So I was really looking forward to having this. It's also got priority and Bullet Punch. Again, hits all the fairies hard. Meteor Mash, get that potential attack boost and just smack through things. Real powerhouse, and I'm really excited to use it. Only drawback, 90% accurate moves are its best stab moves, but I'll live. The next mon we got is TAPU FINI, so completing that little core that I wanted. I'm really happy I got TAPU FINI. It wasn't very sought after, but it's really bulky. I like my bulky water Pokemon to potentially tank hits. It's a solid defogger. It's got great stabs, some great offensive presence with Scald, Surf, Moonblast as well. It's got Nature's Madness, of course, to weak things down. And it's also got access to Calm Mind and Toxic for more of a support set. This will definitely be playing more of a support role, and it has great synergy with Metagross. Metagross only weak to ground, dark, and fire. And TAPU FINI neutral to ground, but quad resists fire and resists dark. And then of course, TAPU FINI is only weak to poison, electric, and grass, and Metagross resists or is immune to all of those. So really good hazard removal, really good bulk, really good support. And Misty Terrain could be really helpful as well for preventing stuff like my Metagross from not getting burnt. And yeah, that's about all I plan on bringing to the table with TAPU FINI. Hopping into the next mon, we've got XURKITREE. Sorry about the weird blue bubbly things. This is the best animation I could find. XURKITREE is a monster. It's a monster. It's an ultra beast. I wanted to try this out so badly because I've heard such great things. Look at that special attack stat, 173. That is so high, so strong. And it's got access to some great moves like Thunderbolt, Discharge, Volt Switch. I really wanted a strong Volt Switcher, and this is what XURKITREE is. It could also be a late game sweeper with Beast Boost, meaning each kill I get, that special attack gets even higher. It's only, its big drawback though, mediocre speed and mediocre bulk, so there are a lot of things that outspeed it, a lot of things that kill it. Ground type is pretty prevalent too, it's a great coverage type. So it typically needs to run Choice Scarf in order to actually pick up kills and maintain its momentum. And that means you need to take care of ground types at a time, lightning rod mons at a time, so it does require a good deal of team support. Outside of that, it's got some interesting moves in like Hypnosis. It also gets access to Tail Glow and Calm Mind. As far as coverage goes, it's not that great. It's got Hidden Power, of course, but it's also got Dazzling Gleam, it's got Grass Knot, it's got Signal Beam, and that kind of marks the end of its coverage moves, which are really not that great. But it doesn't really need much coverage when, even if it's a resist, you smack it hard because of your ridiculously high special attack stat. So we'll see how that goes. And that marked the end of the OU tier. And overall, I was really liking my team so far. I like the core, I like the offensive presence, and then I was looking at the RU tier, and I had the first RU pick, and one of my priorities was a really strong, fast Volt Switcher, and I told Sam that if I didn't have that, there were a couple other mons I wanted, like potentially Flygon, which moved up to UU because of Dragon Dance, and Gengar, which dropped down from OU because of the lack of Levitate. And I thought those would be both great mons, but the first mon that I was given was INFERNAPE. INFERNAPE. I love this mon. I was telling Sam, I was like, please, I really want INFERNAPE. If I don't get TAPU FINI, give me Suicune, of course, but man, INFERNAPE is so good. It can run physically offensive, specially offensive, mixed, Stealth Rock, Lead, Scarf, Band, Specs, Expert Belt, like, it's so good. It's so versatile, and I love versatility, and a lot of times it's the glue in a team. It brings together the different roles, so I'm really excited to use INFERNAPE. I used it in the co-op league over the past couple months and absolutely loved it. Strong, physical or strong fighting moves, Focus Blast and Close Combat. It's got Priority and Mach Punch and Vacuum Wave, Flare Blitz and Overheat. It's got Grass Knot. It's got the various punches. It's got Will-O-Wisp and Stealth Rock. So solid mon. Although, at this point, I'm starting to notice a weakness, a ground weakness. It's not so hot. And on that, let's get to the next mon. We got Flygon, which is a ground immunity, which is really nice for all the previous mons that I've drafted. And like I said, I wanted Flygon because it's got Dragon Dance, which makes it so much better than it's ever been. Being able to, boost up that decent attack and that decent speed and that great stab coverage with Earthquake and Dragon Claw / Outrage. And it's also got Recovery and Roost. It can be hazard removal with Defog, potentially taking some pressure off of TAPU FINI. And it's also got Fire Punch to hit the steel types that like to come in on it. But that's pretty much all there is to Flygon. Ground immunity, mix between bulk and some like good support moves for like recovery and such, but also, potential Choice Scarf mon, potential Mixed mon, potential Choice Banded, potential Dragon Dance setup mon. So versatility, that's usually the theme of my team. And then we got Gengar. I'm so surprised able to get Gengar at the end of this round. This thing's a monster, and it's so hard, and it's got such a great speed here, so I'm so excited to use it. It's always so difficult to prep for Gengar that stabs Sludge Wave, that stabs Shadow Ball. It can run Will-O-Wisp and Hex. It can run a bulkier sub Disable Will-O-Wisp Hex set with Black Sludge. It can run Life Orb. It can run Specs. It's just a monster. It gets access to Icy Wind for speed support as well. I am so excited. I'm so excited to try and just smack some teams, like just smack through some special walls with Gengar. Although, you're probably noticing at this point, I don't have a lot of bulk. I really don't. The most bulky mon, I have TAPU FINI, of course, and Mega Metagross has like some built-in natural bulk, and INFERNAPE is not so bulky. Flygon is kind of bulky if you want it to be, and everything but what's it called? TAPU FINI is neutral to ground, and Flygon is immune to ground. Everything else is super effectively weak to ground. So that's a little bit of a weakness. And then moving on into RU, which is where I had the first pick. I wanted Jolteon if I wanted Jolteon the UU pick if it didn't work out, but yeah, getting into RU. Sorry, we got Drapion. I really like Drapion this generation because Poison, again, there's a huge onslaught of fairies that's coming in with this new generation. I want to be extra prepped for him, which is, part of why I got Mega Metagross. But this is also why I have Drapion. It's a great Scarf user with Poison Jab or Cross Poison if you're running Crit or like Sniper, I think, for its ability. It can also run, it's a really good knockoff user. It's so important to have a good knockoff user because nothing appreciates losing its item. And it can also run a bulkier set on the SPDF side or the defense side, which is really nice. It's got decent speed as well, and access to a decent attack stat. Its typing makes it solid switch-in for a lot of other mons on my team, minus ground weakness, of course. And it's also got access to Toxic Spikes, which could be really helpful for the seemingly offensive nature of my team so far. And that's about all there is. It could be fun, maybe running an acupressure substitute set at some point for the lulls, but yeah, Drapion helps particularly with a little bit of bulk and some hazards, in addition to potential offense, especially against the onslaught of fairies. And so now I hop in the draft and I look at my team so far, and Sam's got me some great mons. Like, I like the team I have thus far, but it's very frail. It doesn't have a lot of bulk, and it's very weak to ground. So at this point, I'm like, I gotta do something about this. And I start to think about it, I'm like, I'll get a couple bulkier mons, but I'm just gonna have to commit to kind of a hyper offense style, because I think that's just what's gonna happen with this sort of a team. When the biggest and the best mons of my team are this kind of frail, very powerful type of mon, that's just kind of the team playstyle my mons lend towards. So I figure, alright, well, let's get another rocker and let's get some bulk. So we drafted Diancie. Look at those stats, and it's got meager HP, but the defense and SPDF and the attack and special attack, this thing is really bulky. If you're not hitting it with a steel type move, if you're not hitting it with something, strong Earthquake, which is again building that weakness, you're not doing a lot to it. This thing can get up rocks, it can hit hard with Moonblast too, coming off a base 100 special attack. It's also got access to Diamond Storm, which could even increase its defenses. So this is a nice bulkier mon, stealth rocker. It could be a cleric at some point, and I'm looking forward to using it. It's a mixed attacker as well, so you don't really have one wall to it, And building off of that, we got DRUDDIGON. I wanted, again, another bulky mon, especially on the physical side. Or rather like mixed, I guess. But also, this thing hits hard. It's really slow, but with access to Sucker Punch, Poison Jab, Fire Punch, Thunder Punch, Dragon Tail, Stealth Rocker, Glare, this thing can be another hazard setter. It can be, what's it called? Shifter? No, phaser, that's what it is. I don't know what I was thinking, shifter. I'm sick, guys. A phaser to give myself some momentum, build up a little bit of stealth rock damage, which is really important on hyper offensive teams where your hard hitters can maybe pick up Okos or set up for a sweep. And this thing could also act as a nice physical wall with Rough Skin, Rocky Helmet, and a lot of bulk. Yeah, that pretty much covers DRUDDIGON. Alright, and then we move on to NU. So in NU, we've got OMASTAR. Again, weak to ground, but I figured more hazards. I wanted my choice when it came to hazards, whether I needed spikes, toxic spikes, or rocks, and which mons I could use to bring them, so I wasn't pressured into bringing a particular mon just for the fact that they have rocks, which was a problem in the past with one of my teams. And OMASTAR, again, it can run that really passive, maybe even a Suicide Sash lead, with weak armor to get up a couple layers of spikes. It could also run a Shell Smash set. It can run a physically defensive set. So it's got some options, and I've used it in the past and can be pretty helpful. So yeah, I figured hazard utility. And then lastly, but certainly not least, we got XATU, which will help with preventing enemy hazards and potentially giving us our own hazards. And of course, a ground immunity, which is really nice. It's relatively bulky. I mean, not really, but it's got some bulk. It's got access to Thunder Wave and Air Slash, which is, of course, shenanigans in the making. Calm Mind, stored power. It's got a decent speed tier. It's not a great mon, but it makes players think when you have to deal with a XATU with potential magic bounce, whether you're going to go for that Will-O-Wisp, whether you're going to go for Stealth Rocks. And that sort of mind game could be incredibly helpful, and the extra ground immunity could be really useful. And then, moving into last tier, a lot of people don't really care too much about PU. I actually have a lot of mons that I like in PU that can play a huge role in the higher tiers, and one of those, my absolute favorite, is Ditto. This little blob is so helpful. It's so helpful. It can be so good. So many Pokemon counter themselves, and so many teams can't prepare for playing one of their own mons. Having this means the other team can't set up, because if I run a Scarf Ditto, I can just steal all their boosts and take them. I can outstall mons because I get infinite PP by switching in and out. I can scout for mons moves, what kind of a set they're running, and learn a lot about my opponent's team by bringing Ditto. So that's why I love Ditto. And then lastly, we got SHEDINJA, which adds more team building mind games because you need to bring something super effective to hit this, otherwise you lose. You can set up hazards, but I've got some great hazard removal / prevention on my team, and if you don't bring something to hit this, you're gonna lose. Like, that's just as simple as it is. It's got 1 HP, run Focus Sash, you get 2 tries pretty much to kill it. It can be used for momentum with Baton Pass. You can run Protect to see, does the mon that I'm up against have a Fire type move, or a Dark type move, or a Rock type move, etc. To help scout for what kind of set they are, what coverage they're running. So it provides, it puts a lot of pressure on the opponent's team building, and it can reveal a lot about the opponent's team once it's actually in battle. So it's kind of helpful in that sense. And yeah, so that's the team overall. It's pretty offensive. Like I said, I'm normally a bulky offensive player, but this season I'm going to have to play a lot more hyper offensively just because of the nature of the mons I have, which is going to push me outside my comfort zone a little bit. I am looking forward to, getting better, picking up the style potentially, and trying to figure out what these Gen 7 mons are going to do. I haven't played any Gen 7 competitive yet. I've seen some, but I have not played it at all. So I'm looking forward to giving these mons a go, testing them, potentially breaking them in the counter league format to kind of help out with the future seasons of the counter leagues, counter team leagues that I plan on partaking in. Oh, and there was a draft for a Z Crystal, as I mentioned before. I initially drafted Psychium Z, anticipating potential Z Hypnosis with XURKITREE, which would increase its speed by 1 stage, lead to a later sweep. There's also Z Calm Mind, which gets rid of other status changes, but outside of that I couldn't really find many uses, so I ended up switching it in for Poisonium Z, which can be used for Z Toxic, which increases defense, which is really nice. It can come for a really strong Sludge Wave from Gengar, or a really strong Poison Jab from Drapion, and in general Z Toxic is just really helpful, or Z Toxic or Z Toxic Spikes, to increase defense if I want to set up a really bulky Drapion or something of the sort. And that's about it for the draft. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, let me know in the comments section below. Are you guys excited for the SFL? If you haven't seen it before, if you haven't tried it before, do watch. It's really fun. It's my favorite way of playing competitive Pokemon, and I really encourage you guys to check it out. And I, of course, would appreciate your support. The Chicago Muse are looking to do it. Take it all the way. Another league, another season. We've done really well in the past, and all I'm looking to do is get better with these mons, pick up the Gen 7 meta, and have a lot of fun along the way. But until the first week's team building and the match, this has been Midnight Zero, and this mission is complete.